idea of Krell music has a long history. In the movie Forbidden Planet, soundtracked by Bibi and Louis Barron and starring Leslie Nielsen, the Krell are an ancient alien species whose music is briefly heard. But in the world of modular synths, the idea of the Krell patch mostly stems from Todd Barton's Krell music that was loosely inspired by the Krell music of the film.
And then take that to get our random pitches going into the principal, back into the principal oscillator control voltage. And if we want even more motion in the timbre, we can take the B or A out of the fluctuating random voltage and put it into the frequency of the filter.
Todd had also collaborated with Ursula K. Le Guin on a cassette-based soundtrack to her speculative novel Always Coming Home, which was sort of an imaginary ethnography of a non-dystopian post-apocalyptic society called the Kesh. So Todd is no stranger to dreaming up the music of monosyllabic fictional civilizations. The soundtrack was reissued by Revenge International a couple years back under the name Music and Poetry of the Kesh. And Todd was also kind enough to make a morphogene reel from the master tapes. Find some links to all that stuff in the video description. Now, since Todd Barton created his Krell patch, the idea of the Krell patch has really taken on a life of its own. We've done 2 Krell patching videos on this channel in the past. One with the black and gold shared system, which is fairly faithful to Todd's Buchla original. And one using the zero coast, which is necessarily simplified because there are fewer circuits available. For this patch, we're going to use the zero coast and Strega. And instead of trying to recreate the full modular patch, we'll expand upon the existing zero coast Krell patch using Strega to add depth and atmosphere. So to recap, the zero coast Krell patch is like this. The slope is cycling to create our main clock. The end of cycle gate is patched to tempo. The clock output always clocks the random voltage. We send the random voltage into the voltage math and take 2 copies of it to the volt per octave input for pitch and to the slope time to change the length of the notes. We use the slope output to open the dynamic circuit and create notes. So each time the slope cycles, it generates a new note and a new length of time. Now, let's run the output of the zero coast through Strega and get a little echo going. Let's use the triangle output from Strega to FM the zero coast. Add a little character. We can use a little interference to the activation circuit to bring the tones in occasionally too. Let's add some variance to them by ring modulating them with the strength output. Let's bring the zero control in. We'll clock it with the agitation function. Let's also use the CV2 output of Strega to control the agitation function's rate and keep it from just being a static clock. Let's use a channel of zero control to modulate the filter, and one to modulate the pitch of the Strega oscillator. A thing I like to do is use the zero control as a clock divider. We take one step gate output and patch it to our gate input. In this case, we'll gate the contour. Since this step gate output only goes high once per sequence, it will do so once every 8 clocks. We could use the reset input to make this division any other number we want, based on whichever touch plate we last touched. Let's use that contour every 4th or 8th or whatever number of clocks to open the balance on the zero coast and bring in some overtones. Let's modulate the time circuit as well. patch is traditionally self-playing, but there's no reason we can't play it ourselves, too. In addition to the many Krell patches you can find on YouTube and other places on the internet, I have found 2 released compilations of Krell-based music. Interestingly, they were both released almost simultaneously in October 2018, but they have pretty different flavors. The first is simply called Krell Music. It's on the label Aural Films, and it does not mention the Krell patch, but rather is a collection of music inspired directly by the Krell music from Forbidden Planet. The second, on Flag Day Recordings, is called The Great Krell Machine Volume 1. It's a collection of Krell music mostly made with modular synths in the mold of the Todd Barton patch. Todd himself makes an appearance on this collection, and full disclosure, so do I. For my contribution, I decided to go directly to the source, and I included a long section using piano and Buchla music easel, quoting some melodic material that I pulled straight from the Baron's original music. Of course, I also included a more traditional 21st century Krell patch in the track as well. You can find links to both those compilations in the video description below. I'd recommend checking them out, if only to get an idea of just how many directions people have gone with music inspired by less than 2 minutes of original Krell music from the film Forbidden Planet. Do you Krell? Let us know in the comments.